Australians say they would support efforts to help Taiwan if China attacked the country. That's according to a survey released on Wednesday. The poll by the Sydney-based Lowy Institute found 80% of Australians support accepting Taiwanese refugees. A majority also backed imposing diplomatic and economic sanctions on China, sending arms and military supplies to Taiwan, and using the Australian Navy to help stop a blockade. But the poll found Australians would not support sending troops. For more, TaiwanPlus reporter Louise spoke to Brian Stoddart, emeritus professor at Trobe University in Melbourne.
This poll found that Australians would support diplomatic and economic sanctions on China if it invaded Taiwan, and would even support sending the Australian Navy to help out, but they wouldn't support sending troops. How surprising are these findings?
Not particularly surprising, I think, Louise. There has been a slight easing on the China tension here in Australia over the last few months. Certainly an easing from where it's been over the last 3 years. And I think it's important to put that into the context here, because a lot of these attitudes have been run effectively out of, shall we say, media influence over the last 3 years. And there has been a distinctly frozen view about the relationship with China. And that's largely dictated by the heavy reliance effectively for security on the alliance out of Washington. And I think it is probably important to emphasise that the initial reading of that survey, which is a pretty substantial one, it does show that the willingness to put, say, troops on the ground or even have any kind of military involvement is probably a lot lower than it was, say, 2 years ago or 3 years ago.
Another finding in the poll was that 80% of Australians would support accepting refugees from Taiwan. Is this surprising in any way?
No, that's not surprising to me either, Louise, for two reasons. One is that there's been a reasonably strong influx of immigration from Taiwan in the skilled categories. And Australia is very short on a set of technological skills. Taiwan's always been a useful supplier for that. So that's not surprising at all. So Australia, like everybody else at the moment, post-COVID, new technological world, is looking for skills wherever they can find them, and Taiwan's an obvious supplier.